Turned by McKenna! Lovely cushion header. And Giroud! What a head, son! What a head!
Hello and welcome back to the Premier League Trio podcast. My name is Hader and I'm your host as usual today. Looking outside, it's very dreary. It's raining in England and that kind of reflects my mood as a Man United fan, and I'm sure many other United fans out there. So who better to talk to than my favourite Man United account and one of my favourite people on Twitter. Myself and Akash have really, grown with a great friendship over the last 2 or 3 months. He is one of the most reliable people out there, and he's always level-headed. And I'm just so excited to have him back on the podcast. Akash, the man behind the Theunitedlink account. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's always a pleasure coming on your podcast.
I've honestly always enjoy you coming on, but I wish we were talking on a much more positive note. We finished the season on such a high, I thought, in terms of top four looking like it was not a possibility, and then managing to have that incredible run pretty much since Bruno joined. The team is starting to play some brilliant football, probably the best and most exciting football we've seen in 7 years, I would argue. And you can start to see the team forming, Greenwood emerging as an absolutely generational talent, Martial making the number 9 his own, Rashford, although he struggled, but still had a great season, scoring 20-plus goals. The midfield looking good. The fence was shaky, but, there was a side there which you thought, okay, look, with some really good additions, this side's going to take off. But what we've seen is just so disappointing. And I think what's making it worse right now is the fact we're looking at Chelsea and the ambition showed by that club, a club which finished on 66 points as well. And look, they've put nearly seven transfers through the door in the space of a month. I mean, what is going on, and why can't United seem to get their business done in a timely fashion like other clubs?
Heather, when we talk about Manchester United and transfers, we have lost that speed in the market in terms of how we operate. I think we've always taken a very laid-back approach under Ed Woodward. We don't seem to be extremely clinical. We seem to take our time on deals. I think United always like to lowball teams in terms of the transfer bid. They don't mind a few bids being rejected in order to understand how the other team is, portraying themselves in the negotiations. But, as a Manchester United fan, I can understand the frustrations. I come on social media every day and I see United fans are looking forward to transfer deals happening, but there's simply no news. Even the journalists who are based in Manchester, they have nothing much to say on transfers. And I'm pretty sure that's not entirely the case, because things do happen behind the curtains. We do know how Manchester United operate. I think the example that I can give of that comes, on the top of my mind is Alexis Sanchez. When Manchester United suddenly announced their invest, and in a few weeks it was concluded. That was because when the deal got concluded, we got to know that negotiations for the player had started months before. So it's not like Manchester United don't do work. Work is always going on behind the scenes. It is just that United don't like to show their cards on the table. They do not like to show that they're holding a good hand, because teams who are on the other side of the negotiation table always feel that if they get to know what Manchester United are, offering, and on the first negotiation itself, then they'll obviously try to, ask United for much more money. And that's why Manchester United always have a laid-back approach. I know it's extremely frustrating. Some of it might not even make sense, but that's how it is. COVID has come into all our lives, and we all have to cope up with it. And so do businesses. And Manchester United is also business at the end of the day, because that's how the Glazers look at it. And that's how the football industry looks at it. And I think all the other clubs are impacted by COVID, but they're still doing their business. But they won't be doing business at the scale that Manchester United is planning to do business. I think it's important to note that Jadon Sancho is going to be a world record deal for the club. Whether people like it or not, there's going to be a lot of money involved in this deal. So United, I feel, are taking a comfortable approach in order to understand how much of the installments that they can, how much of the money they're ready to pay upfront for Jadon Sancho. Because I think talks are still ongoing. The interest has been confirmed by the club. I think if the deal was off, the club would have just stated so and we would have all moved on to alternative targets. But the situation is that, and it still remains, that Jadon Sancho is the club's primary target. So I think there is still time, obviously, for the deal to get done. But Dortmund have clearly, spoken about their asking price, and they're not going to lower it anytime soon. So I can see a similar scenario to Maguire playing out, where what United are going to say at the end of the day, they're going to pay. They're going to pay the money that BVP are going to ask. But it's just about posturing all the time and to try and look good in the media. And as to what other clubs are doing, I think it's extremely frustrating. Obviously, I agree with you. Chelsea finished on the same points with us. I think we ended the season in the Premier League season on a positive note. The overall season, not so much.
Mm.
It was an extremely, season full of ups and downs. So when you look at Chelsea and the kind of investment that they're willing to make, they're extremely active, and I think that comes down to the structure at the club. If you look at Chelsea, it's not Roman Abramovich who's making the calls with regards to who's being signed by the club. He's just sanctioning the moves. Here, Joey Glazer and majority of the people at United are micromanaging the club. That means everyone is involved in every single decision that's made at the club. So that kind of increases the length of the negotiations. If you look at the transfer committee that's been spoken about at Manchester United, I think they sit across the table all year long. They make a short list of targets. That target then is possibly selected by the manager. Then the manager shows the target to Joel Glazer. Then then the deal is possibly sanctioned by the top board. Then after that, the next step is that Ed Woodward possibly signs off the financials, and then Matt Judge goes and negotiates the deal. So if you look at this whole structure, it's an extremely time-taking process.
Inefficient.
So
Completely inefficient.
There are too many steps on the way for the deals to get placed, and on the top of my mind, I can always think about the same approach is taken towards contract extensions as well. If you look at it, people at footballing clubs, when a contract is to be extended, they simply approach the parties and it possibly gets extended. At United, it's another cycle altogether. So there are a lot of micromanaging happening at Manchester United, and I think that's possibly one of the reasons why things are so slow.
I completely agree. I've read something similar. Like you said, it goes from Matt Judge to Ed Woodward to Joel Glazer. Look at Joel Glazer. Look, I know you're the owner, but what does he have which constitutes football knowledge? What does he see in a player? What I've read is that he decides if there is value. What is he basing that value on? What is the metric? Because I can damn well sure tell you it's not footballing ability. It's not to do with how he's going to fit in the team. It's not to do with potential. It's not to do with how many goals they're going to bring to it. It's simply down to finances. So and this is a point, and what I want to go on to next before we talk about the Glazers and the finances is you talk about Chelsea and their structure. Like you said, Roman Abramovich, it's a completely different club. The outlook, they want to win trophies. It's about winning. It's not about the commercial side of it. For them, it's about winning the Champions League and the Premier League, not about getting in top four and getting that 100 million. But when you look at the structure of Man United, a lot of it for me definitely falls down upon the point that we still haven't, to this day, brought in a director of football. And when you look at the position of director of football, look, it's a very common part of any footballing structure nowadays. And gone are the days where Fergie and Wenger were the manager. And in those days, it was the supreme leader of the football club. You had Fergie involved in pretty much every single aspect of the club, be it the training sessions or the transfers or contracts, or even laying the foundations for the future. Previously, football departments were governed simply by the coach and an executive. And when I mean by executive, that was David Gill. So what you saw is Sir Alex was the one who managed the team, whereas Gill managed the finances, and then they'd work together on recruitment. But this method just no longer works. It's no longer successful. It's not adequate to serve the modern game. And that sort of relationship was built on that dynamic between the relationship between Gill and Fergie. And you saw that with Arsenal, actually, with David Dein and Arsene Wenger, where when David Dein left, Wenger dropped. He declined for the second half of his tenure there. And I think the problem is that when you look at Man United, it's so obvious there's no footballing people in footballing positions. There's no director of football that's actually going to set the standard. And when I look at, and this is going to annoy people, but Dortmund are one of the best at this. If you look at Mikhail Zorc at Dortmund, I read a book that he was mentioned in. It's called Masters of Modern Soccer. It's about Dortmund's philosophy. If anyone wants to do any extra reading, it's brilliant. And what Zorc says is he says that the club is linked to the region. So the region in Dortmund is a very working class region. So by that view, the football has to be attacking. It has to be daring. The fans don't like it when the teams play boring football. So the philosophy provides the guiding principles for the way the club functions. They must appoint managers with a similar philosophy, so there isn't a massive player upheaval. They have a phenomenal academy. They develop young players. They have the ability to purchase and nurture the best young talent. We've seen that. United missed out on Jude Bellingham and they missed out on Haaland, two of their top targets. That's not good enough. And what you see is the youth players mimic or they play with the same philosophy as the first team. So when they come to the first team, they settle in seamlessly. But they know they can't compete for top players at big prices. So their model is to buy the best young potential, develop, sell for huge prices, rinse and repeat, and do that again. Compare that to Man United. United don't have this. And look, it's very similar. Manchester's a working class area. The club is the lifeblood of the community. And again, attacking football, it's that DNA, it's creativity, youth, excellent stars, that come in and they develop. It's about bringing that togetherness between the manager, the players, the fans. What you've seen is United have had 4 different managers since Sir Alex, all having different styles. There's just a mishmash of players, different philosophies, different values. United jumped from one extreme to another when you had Van Gaal and then you had Mourinho. And then they stumbled upon Solskjaer, like you said, up and down season. But he got us back in the Champions League. They're starting to see some shoots of positivity, green shoots, and you're seeing potential all over the pitch. And what happens? You see that the structure above is hindering United. And what United needs is a director of football because it's so pivotal that they set the structure of the club. They set the style of play, the types of players that are bought, and even the managers. If Solskjaer leaves tomorrow, they should have a structure in place where the director of football will pick the next manager who can come in and slip in seamlessly. There shouldn't be this upheaval of 7 years of spending and wasting over £1 billion on players that don't fit the philosophy. And it fell apart. Let's be honest, it fell apart the day Sir Alex left because when he left, the whole club left with him. And United, the first thing they should have done was invested in the internal structure of the club. And they didn't do that. And it's quite simply, that's why I have a lot of anger towards the Glazers, towards Ed Woodward, because this is their club and they've neglected it with the investment in the infrastructure and the hierarchy of the club. They failed to invest in the stadium, which would bring in more revenue, and they failed to invest in the training ground. They're only now starting to invest in the academy after neglecting it for 7 years, and they've failed to invest in the hierarchy of the club. We are light years behind our rivals after years of being so far ahead. Like, why is there not a director of football being looked at? Every summer we see that, United are looking for a director of football. It's all just paper talk. I mean, what have you heard? Is it all just that Woodward doesn't want to relinquish power? Or is it simply the fact that the Glazers don't care about the footballing decisions? They want to keep the micromanaging power they have.
You know what, Heather, when we speak about director of football, I think I'll speak about the interview that I think Ed Woodward did after the transfer window was closed, I think this summer, or the last summer. I think he said that people have the tendency to think that I make the footballing decisions, but I don't. That's what he said. He just said that I just sign off the deals that come off to me. There's a proper transfer committee in place that decide the targets. The target is selected by the committee and then sent over to the manager, who confirms that he wants this particular player. There's no player who's signed without the consent of the manager because he simply won't play if he signed against the will of the manager. So I think when we go years back into Van Gaal, into Jose Mourinho, the structure at the club was an absolute embarrassment. When I say an embarrassment, it's an understatement, and that's how bad the situation was. There were scenarios where Mourinho was into his just coming off finishing second with Manchester United, and there was a situation where he said that, I don't like Martial, I want him sold. I want Perisic to come into the club. The club didn't agree with him. He said that I want Maguire just a couple of weeks before
Yeah.
the window closed. The club said, you know what, we can't give you Maguire because you just bought Lindelof. So make the best of what you have. So there have been situations where the manager uh, and the club have been at loggerheads over transfer targets, and that shows that when that happens, there is no parity, there is no consensus, and how badly run the club was during those times. And as far as the ownership and Glazers are concerned, I think you've rightly put across everything. That majority of us feel that, are we really being owned by the right people? Does the ambition reflect from the owners? I think no, it doesn't. Because if the owners were ambitious, we would see it in the transfer business. We would see it in the backing of the club. You know, Manchester United have become such a successful business, but are we still a successful footballing club?
No.
It's a difficult question to answer, because it's important that we remain truthful. We are a good run business. We are good. We have amazing revenue. We have been amazing in terms of our sponsorship deals. But is that what the club really is built on? Absolutely not. Manchester United is all about winning, the culture of winning. And Manchester United is, it's a travesty to watch Manchester United become what they have become. But I think it's important to note that there have been attempts in the recent past in order to improve the structure. When Ole came in, I think he brought in a wave of change. There was a transfer committee in place after he came in. Before, there was just simply a manager speaking to the club and disagreements all over. Now there's a transfer committee who sits. We have recognized the scouting system in a much better way. We know the best scouts that we had. Previously, it was an absolute mess with regards to the scouting system. Players were being offered left, right, and center, and United didn't know which scout to trust. Now there are people in the club who know which kind of player will be better suited to Manchester United. I think Marcel Bout takes a lot of, has a lot of involvement in terms of who we bring into the club. So there have been a little bit of changes. There has been a little bit of push or a nudge in the right direction. But is it enough? That's the question that we need to answer, and we need to face every single time, because Manchester United fans have been always told that, Manchester United is in transition. It's going to continue like this if we don't voice our opinions. I see opinions like, Manchester United are blooming under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, we are improving as a side, but some of the people fail to address the real issues, and it's important we talk about the issues, because
Yeah.
the moment we address these issues is the moment we take a step ahead. We at Manchester United, it's Ole taking one step forward and the Glazers taking us two step backward.
Yeah.
So there will be no real movement. If you look at Frank Lampard, he has a squad which is now in a position to at least challenge City and Liverpool. He has the depth right now to go and push for the title. Havertz is a sensational deal for them. I think I rate him extremely highly. I think he's in the same bracket as Sancho in terms
Yeah.
of
100%.
quality.
100%.
I don't I know Sancho is better. That is just my personal opinion. I know he's better, but Havertz is generational as well.
Mm.
He's been touted as one of the best talents to come in the recent past. So I think Chelsea they've got Ziyech, and they've got Timo Werner. So they are making moves. It's a different thing that whether these signings click. We should all hope they don't, for our own benefit. But at least Chelsea are making the right moves in the market. They are showing intent. They are showing the willingness to bank Frank Lampard. So if you are Gunnar Solskjaer sitting in your living room watching these transfer dealings happening daily, will you feel a certain, you know, negativity that what's really happening? Am I trusted? Am I the person the club think I am to take this club forward? There will be doubt, because the only way to remove these doubts are to back the manager in the market. And currently, United are extremely relaxed. United feel that, you know what, we will take our own sweet time. We don't want to rush into decisions. We don't want to uh, make the wrong transfers. We'll act at our own pace. Don't force us. Don't ask us to give updates daily. That's how it is. And as fans, we we have to endure the pain of watching this club prolong deals all summer. But there are some things you just can't change. The fans can't, unless they come out on the streets. I don't expect things to change.
I completely agree. When you look at it, it's that ambition point, isn't it? Where, you know what, we had Louis van Gaal come in and it didn't work out. And this is a problem with the board, is that it's not that they haven't spent money. Like I said earlier, they've spent 1.2 billion. They've spent money. The problem is that, for example, with Jose Mourinho, whether you like Jose Mourinho or not, let's just go in. When you bring in Jose Mourinho, who decided to bring him in? Because anyone that knows and has followed Jose Mourinho's career knows that he's a short-term fix. You know that he's going to be there for 3 years. The first year, he'll maybe win a small trophy. Second year, he'll win the title. Third year, he usually implodes. We've seen that throughout his career. He's extremely successful at what he does. But you know that when he comes in, he's going to be a short-term fix. There will be fireworks. He will win trophies if he's backed. And he will leave a mess. But what United did is that they backed him for 2 years. He got to second. And then he needed backing that summer, because I honestly feel if he was backed, then he would have made it. And they pulled the plug halfway through the project. And then what you have is a situation where you've had another manager come in Solskjaer, and he's had to clean up the mess. Whose fault? Who's the one making decisions to bring Jose Mourinho in? If you know he's going to be like that, why pull the plug halfway through or 2 years into the project? This is my problem. And what you've seen is that there's this lack of planning. And when you look at the Glazers, and we're going to move on to Glazers now, the thing that frustrates me is that it's the whole situation and how they bought the club. I mean, they bought the club on a leverage buyout by taking loans out on the club's assets. They didn't pay a single penny of their own money, and they saddled the club with £790 million worth of debt. United have been debt-free since 1931 for 75 years until the Glazers walked in. And then you see that the Glazers in that time period have taken 200 million in dividends or payouts since the takeover, which is absolutely crazy. And as we said earlier, Joel Glazer's the one that only sanctions signings when he's convinced he sees value. And we've already discussed what is that value. And at its highest, these interest payments that we were paying were 60 million per year on a whole load of debt that it isn't United's, it's the owners. And we look at the way they have not put one single penny of their own money into the club. In the time that that Man City owners have put $1 billion in, they've taken out nearly the same. They've taken out about 1.5 billion in interest, debt, and dividends. And this is the important thing, that I've put this out there, and there are fans, and I want to talk about the fans, that just there seems to be this crazy illusion. There's two issues, I think. One issue is that fans seem to say, oh, well, the Glazers are great because they made us a commercial giant. We're a juggernaut where our commercial revenues are incredible, which they are. Our commercial strategy, our sponsorship strategy is one which the rest of the football clubs around the world are now copying because it's so successful. And United have 65, signed sponsors on the website. That is something which is fine. I have no issue with commercial strategy. But where's the money being put into the club? The Glazers have taken 1.5 billion, and the ownership, when I say that, that's 200 million pounds worth in dividends or other payouts in terms of interest and debt on the loan that they took out on United to buy the club. And when you look at it, Manchester United Supporter Trust said no owner in the history of football in any country has ever taken so much out of a club. They have not put one single penny in. You're looking at clubs around Europe. Man City was so far behind us. They were years and years behind us, and now they've overtaken us. And look, Manchester will always be red, but let's be honest, Lionel Messi might sign for Man City, not Man United. Who would have said that 10, 15 years ago? It's beggars belief. And when there's two issues, like I said. One is that people are just hiding behind the commercial power of Man United, saying, oh, well, the Glazers did this. Not doubting that they made United a commercial powerhouse, but United was already a well-known brand. Any sensible businessman would have been able to leverage that and make more money. The issue is, as well, is that there's fans online, I think that, as you said on Twitter, the anger towards the Glazers is very fierce, and people are trying to make things happen. But we're not seeing the same anger from the fans in the stadium. What can United do? Because this is a serious problem. And when you do say something against the Glazers, I've been told, "Oh, you're plastic. Be patient. We always do our business late." Well, look at our track record since Sir Alex has left. How has that helped us? It hasn't. How many top four finishes have we had in the last 7, 8 years? I can count, 3, I think, or 4. So the point is that it's not working what we're doing. Us waiting around and waiting for for Sancho to. It's not going to happen that way. We need to be getting these players in early so they can work with the manager. So the manager has the best chance and the tools to be able to challenge. And that's the problem, that we have a manager who's come in who's actually not wasted a single penny of the money that he's had. Solskjaer's. And you can see the committee is actually working. Solskjaer has bought very well. He deserves to be backed, or at least to challenge the way Lampard. I say Solskjaer is a better manager than Lampard. But which manager is getting the backing to actually break the status quo of Liverpool and City? One of them. So is it the fans as well that need to take some blame, that they're just allowing this to happen? Because the Glazers they've destroyed this club. They've destroyed the heart of the club, the soul. This is not the Man United that we all fell in love with.
Heather, like I completely agree with you, and I think pretty much everyone would resonate with how you feel. But I think it's important for the match going fans to express how they feel, because if they express how they feel about the club and how it is run, I think the Glazers will know where they'll feel the impact. And how will they feel the impact? I think match going revenue, when it reduces, they notice it when it hurts the business. So I think that starting talking about social media campaigns and talking about the Glazer out campaign, it's always happened. It has always happened. It is not the first time that people are talking about the Glazer out campaign. And I think pretty much everyone will agree with the Glazer campaign, because they know that the club has been poorly run throughout their tenure. But the match going fans need to make sure that the owners know how they feel, because if they don't tell them how they feel, then things are not going to change. And when there were reports about Manchester United being sold last summer, the Glazers categorically said that we want to run the club for a long time and we won't be selling the club anytime soon unless we get a fantastic offer. Now, is there any other owner that can come into the picture in these current times? You would say probably someone like Jeff Bezos, or people would always like someone of that stature. But at the moment it's tough, because I don't think in COVID times someone will come and try to buy Manchester United, because all clubs are going through their own financial problems. There are other businesses which are going through financial problems. So it's less likely to happen that Manchester United gets sold. So the Glazers are here to stay. So can the Glazers change their approach? Can the Glazers get their act together? Can the Glazers, accept that they have done their role in a bad way, and try to change things? It's important that they take the responsibility for the failures as well. You can't just sit around and say that you've been successful. No, and show and be the poster boy for when the club is successful, and take a backseat when the club's going through a bad time. It's the owners who protect the fans. It's the owners who protect the club. It's the owners who protect the traditions of the club. It's the owners who understand what it means for the fans whenever they step into the stadium and watch their team play. It's the owners who have to protect that legacy. Have the Glazers done that? Absolutely no. And they need to change that, and they need to get their act together. And the owners need to make sure that Manchester United get back on top. And for that to happen, investment is key. Investment is an important part of modern football. It's the harsh reality. Teams who cannot invest will not progress. It's important to note that we might see a Leicester or a Wolves happen once in a while, but it's not always going to happen. Money is needed. Money helped Liverpool shape their team into a title-winning team, into making them European champions in the last 2 years. Money helped Manchester City to build a good sporting project and try to lure Lionel Messi. If you told me 10 years back that Lionel Messi would be moving to Manchester, I wouldn't even think about asking you whether it's United or City. Let's be clear, United are the club who should be going for him. But we won't be. And I have no problems with that because I know Messi is not the answer in the long term, even though he's a world class player. I know Messi is not the answer for everything. It might get City another PL title, but so be it. But it's not a short term fix, and it's not an investment which is you know productive in the long term. In the short term, absolutely. If you want to make a short term investment, Messi's your man. But in the long term, it's not. That's why I just signed Jadon Sancho. And Sancho, I'm not talking about quality. Obviously, Messi is 10 times the player Sancho is. But but in the long term, Sancho will help United become the team that they
Yeah,
want to be.
I
So
agree.
it's important that people have a good perspective about this, and the owner's vision is important. And in this case, we don't see any vision, and it's important that the Glazers get their act together and try to save this club and save what this club stands for. It's this club has achieved so much success in in the past few decades, and it's only because of the belief of the fans and belief of the manager and the players that have come and gone, and they've contributed so much to the club. If we let that go, and in because of the commercial dealings that we have, this commercial success that Manchester United have is only because of the success that Manchester United has. So if
Absolutely.
this, so if the success goes away, the commercials will also go
Yeah.
away very very soon. People will not want to invest in Manchester United, and if that happens, then there's nothing left. We'll become another AC Milan.
Yeah. And that's the issue, isn't it? That success on the pitch and commercial success are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. If anything, if United invest properly, and I agree with you on the Messi point, look, it would be an honour to have probably the greatest player of all time play for your club. Of course it would be. And it makes complete sense that you would think 10 years ago there would be no thought at all towards the fact that there's only one side that Messi would go to, and that would be the red side, obviously. But as you said, there's that sporting project and the money that they've put in. And it's also about, for me, I've seen people on Twitter say, for example, I'm excited. And I know you've seen this post. I'm not going to single anyone out. And I agree. Look, they're saying if we don't make any signings, I'm excited to see the development of some players. We've got some fantastic players. Bruno Fernandes is a breath of fresh air. I absolutely love him. I think he's the best signing we've made in God knows how many years. The mentality, the way he's turned around and changed the club. And that's what it takes. One quality signing. Imagine if
Is
United.
this the post by Tim, if I'm
Yeah.
not wrong?
Yes.
Oh my God, bro.
Yes.
I can remember this post. It's embedded in my brain because I remember I just got so angry because you know what? Some people have the tendency to only look at the positives, and that's
Yeah.
not how things work.
Yeah.
That's
And
simply not how things work.
yeah.
Because I feel angry when people try to avoid issues, because if you try and answer these important and tough questions, that's how the club will progress.
Yeah.
If you continue to say we won't make any signings, look, if things are bad out there, we won't make any signings because COVID's there. Literally every other club is buying players. Why
Everyone's
just
doing it.
sing?
Yeah.
Why just single out Manchester United? Are Manchester United supposed to be the beacon of righteousness? No, it's not supposed to be like that. Manchester United have every single right to invest as much as Manchester City or Chelsea. Just because I read a post on Twitter which made a lot of sense. Chelsea have invested what they got from Morata and Hazard, and 60 million on top of that.
Yeah.
Abramovich is going to invest more into this team. They're not going to stop anytime soon.
No, of course
they
not.
they're going to pump in they're going to pump in more money into this team. So it's important that Manchester United invests so that they don't get left behind. If
Yeah.
Manchester United don't invest, then there'll be a day when we'll be regretting that we should have acted when we didn't, and
Absolutely.
it's going to bite us, because let's be clear. If we learn from our mistakes, it'll show that we didn't back Jose in his second season. It's important to back Ole when he's finished third, because this is the time where Liverpool have decided not to invest a lot. They have decided, we're going to back Mane, Salah, and Firmino and the rest of the team because they're a title-winning squad. We don't need much repairs. But
Very
that's
dangerous.
not how things work. It's a
That's very dangerous.
dangerous
Yeah.
it's a dangerous decision because you know what, when overconfidence clouds over the club, there's every other title winning squad knows that they need to add in more players to add competition.
Yeah.
Thiago alone will not change their fortunes, and even the left back depth they've just signed, it'll just increase a little bit of squad depth. And if you look at Liverpool, they don't have that lineup of Salah, Mane, and Firmino for very, very long. If you actually look at their age, they're,
It's an aging line, yeah.
yeah, it's an aging line, and they're going to hit their peak, or they've possibly already peaked. So there will come a time when Liverpool will gradually fall. So who's going to be there when they fall? It's going to be either Manchester City, Manchester United, or Chelsea. So
Yeah.
it's important that Manchester United push. This is the time, because if they don't bridge the gap, it's going to be even more times
Yeah.
than
But that's
then
what
we
I'm,
can see
yeah,
United win the league.
that's where I'm coming from, because I saw Tim's one. I know you commented on it. I commented as well. I said, look, this is a problem. You bury your head in the sand, you forget about what's going on. I think people that have that mentality, and this is a problem, that we didn't see the same excuses for Jose. I think because it's who it is, it's Oli. And look, I definitely think Oli should get another season. I'm not saying he shouldn't. He should be backed. He needs to get backed. But the point is, because it's Oli, there have been people that give him a different standard to judge him on. He's afforded more time, or it's looking at the positives. Oh, Greenwood's going to get better. Martial, I'm excited to see that. Look, my complete honest opinion, I said this on this post, and I had obviously a thread of people
He
talking
put
about
Daniel James in that
Yeah.
post. He
I
said
know.
he's looking forward to watching Daniel James develop. You know,
Yeah,
would you hear that at Manchester City?
not at all.
Would you hear
Real
that at
Madrid,
Chelsea?
Barcelona, Bayern Munich, of course
You
you
know,
wouldn't.
you wouldn't, and that's the harsh reality. United have set standards. They have set a ceiling of expectations. There should be no ceiling of expectations at Manchester United. You should expect. You shouldn't stop being ambitious after a certain point. Ambition is what drives every single club into leading, into winning titles. And if United stop being ambitious, and say, look, you know what, I'm going to look forward to Daniel James running down win. No, it's not the case. The kid was brought into the club because they need squad depth. He himself didn't know he's going to play that many games. It's a fact. And,
Yeah.
and the kind of performances that he's given in pre-COVID were decent. I'm not going to criticize him just because he's coming to the club. He's a decent player, but he's not going to be the one who's going to carry this club to the next title. And
But
that's what Manchester.
that's the problem. That's the problem, though. That's the thing. United used to always get the best. It was the best stadium, best manager, best players, the best young players. Everything was the best. The standards were at the top. The Glazers have lowered the standards, and fans have accepted it. Fans have accepted that. Oh, who says that? Who goes out and says, "Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Even if we don't get any signings, it's not a problem because we can back." Ollie's shown with this squad, maybe a better manager would get more out of it. Maybe we won the Europa. We should have won the Europa, in my opinion. That was very disappointing. But you look at this squad, and it's hit its ceiling. It cannot get any better. The manager's doing the best he can with what he's got. Well, if we stand still and we have this mentality, oh, well, Greenwood's going to get better. He's a year older. Don't get me wrong, Greenwood will be fantastic. But if you have that mentality, if we don't invest, we stand still. And when you stand still, that's similar to Liverpool. If they don't invest, City are going to spend big. Chelsea have done unbelievable things in the market. Tottenham have signed two good players, in my opinion. Højbjerg and Doherty will do very well over there. Arsenal have brought in Gabriel, a player that we should have looked at as well. This is the point, that if United stand still, they go backwards. And this is what the fans don't understand. So when people are peddling that rubbish, quite frankly, in my opinion, it's rubbish to say, oh, well, it's okay because these players will improve. There's a ceiling. We can't physically get better until better players come in.
You know what? Like when people mention, you know what, we don't need Sancho, we have Greenwood.
Oh,
It's
don't.
important.
Makes me
It's
angry.
important. It's important to know the fact that Greenwood is generational, but he's not ready to play 60 games a year
No.
and over a season. It's you cannot expect that kid to do that much. He'll burn out by the time he's 21 or 22. He'll just end up being another frustrated player and a tired player. Do we want that? Absolutely not. We want to get the best out of Greenwood. and we want to see the best come out of him. And when I hear that people say, you know what, we have Greenwood, things will we don't need Sancho. That's not true. Sancho will add another dimension to our attack. He's
Yeah.
an absolutely world class player.
At the age
People
of
do
20.
not realize,
At,
and he has achieved so much at such a young age, and he's gone ahead against all odds and made a move to Germany when many British players don't do that. He set a trend for a generation to come and
yeah.
go and venture out into the Bundesliga. And people need to acknowledge the fact that he is ready to come to England, and the club he should return to is Manchester United. And if he's not signed this summer, I'm afraid we might never get him. And that's the biggest fear I have.
I
And you know
completely
when I
agree.
and when I speak to people who are aware of what's going on in the transfer market, I get only one response is that United don't feel that the window is over. United want to act, but they will not do so in a hurried and forced manner. They want to keep their cards close to their chest and not reveal what is the best offer that they can give for a player. Look, I'm not going to comment on how negotiations take place. I'm not sitting there. I don't know what's happening, but I do know for a fact that if United prolong negotiations, there is a trend which I can notice is that they end up paying the fee anyway. So if I know a trend and if Borussia know a trend, then they're not going to budge down, even though they are secretly or making losses every day in the market because they are incurring costs as well, and for them they are facing financial issues, but they are not going to force sell Jadon Sancho at a cheap price. They know for a fact that they can get the same fee for Sancho if they sell him next year
Of course not.
because
And that's the thing. Yeah,
and
go
they're
on,
going to
Aka.
and then they're going to be clubs who are going to try and get Sancho the moment they have the finances to do so. Barcelona, Real Madrid, even
Mm.
Chelsea for that matter could come back, and that's my
He,
biggest fear
he
for
is a
them. If
Chelsea
United,
fan as well. He's a Chelsea fan, so
uh,
there's very
he
big possibility next season they will go in for him and he goes back, and they'll have Havertz and Sancho and Werner. I mean,
that's going to get them at the top of not only the Premier League but possibly Europe as well because that's such a deadly attack on paper. You know what? If Frank Lampard doesn't win something next year, he
yeah,
should be sacked.
yeah,
Should
he
he be
should be
sacked?
100%,
He
100%.
he, he should be. If you have such players, if you have such players at your request and at your command who are just willing to go and produce the numbers, and if you still don't win anything, and if you're just going to give that excuse, oh, he needs a season for all the players to gel, shouldn't that be? Shouldn't Ole be given a relaxation then because he didn't get any back in the summer? It doesn't work like that. Excuses are the last thing with champions are made of. You don't see Liverpool making any excuses. You don't see they lost the Champions League final to Real Madrid.
Yeah,
They could have made excuses and said, you know what, we tried our best, we can't do it anymore. No, they went ahead next season and won the league, won the Champions League. Now this season they've gone ahead and won the Premier League. It's so painful to watch them do well.
your rivals. Yeah,
It
it's,
it
it's
it hurts. It hurts my eyes to watch Jordan Henderson lift a Premier League trophy.
yeah, yeah,
It hurts my eyes. But I'm not going to say that they are not going to deserve it because fact of the matter is people at Liverpool understand how a footballing project is going to work. They have put possibly the best data team that exists in all of Europe in order to analyze players. They have the right people at the club
yeah,
who are negotiating deals. You know what? I think it's Edwards, right? Who's
yeah. Michael Edwards. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So I think it's Edwards who's doing a fantastic job. He's doing his bit. Liverpool get linked to a player on Monday. He's possibly signed by Friday. That's how things work at Liverpool. They're not going to go across the table. You know what? We're not going to pay what it is, what you're asking for Van Dijk. Or we're not going to pay what it is. It did stretch. I'm not going to lie. It did stretch a little bit. But they still ended up paying a lot of fee and possibly the right reasons for players. And they got the people who were capable enough to win the league. Van Dijk didn't take a lot of seasons to adjust people.
No.
They're going for the right people, and it's a fact, Heather, that Manchester United made a lot of wrong signings.
Yeah.
When you look at Louis van Gaal, he said that, you know what, I wanted Tony Cruz, I wanted, you know, I gave Manchester United a list of players.
Maximals,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
Higuain.
and who was he handed apart from Di Maria, who was a sensational signing on the paper? We possibly signed one of the best players in Europe. He
Yeah.
left us in one season. He left us after one season. We got in Memphis Depay. He was considered as one of the best players in at the World Cup. He was considered as one of the, upcoming talents in Europe. He lost his way at the club. No
And he
one
just
no
played the
one
semi-final, Akash. He just played the
yeah.
semi-final of
And,
the
and
Champions
he
League.
Yeah, and he was so good. He's come back. If I wouldn't blame United entirely for his attitude, because there were problems. There were problems, but United just allowed these problems to continue. The problem is that these problems need to be addressed. These problems cannot be, you can't run away from your problems. If you run away from your problems, you can't, possibly get back to the top. Because Liverpool went for so many years, for decades, without a league. When they actually went ahead and sat down and said, you know what, we are going to go and solve our problems. Do you think United can afford to sit decades without going, and going without winning the league? It would be an
It's a big
absolute.
possibility, though, Akash. It's a
Yeah,
very big
yeah,
possibility.
but it's been 7 years since we won.
Yeah.
I cannot for the life of me see United not winning in the next 5 years if we don't win the Premier League. It's going to be an absolute embarrassment. We cannot afford to lose out on time. Time is ticking, and we cannot watch. I can't watch my club die. I just cannot watch my club die.
No,
And
I agree.
I have sleepless nights sometimes. You know what? Just because I run a football Twitter account, I get so many notifications. Even if I don't want to watch Twitter, if I get updates, I see United, doing anything, and that hurts me, and that genuinely hurts me. I have sleepless nights thinking, you know what? I don't want Manchester United to be left behind. That's how much Manchester United mean to me, and that's how much Manchester United mean to everyone across the globe.
Yeah,
Because it's
absolutely.
United is not just a club. I live so far away from the UK, but I have so much attachment with Manchester United. It's an emotion. We sit in, we watch Champions League matches that across the globe. People stay up at 4:30 in Australia. People watch
Mm.
Champions League matches in India at 12:30 a.m. It's an emotion. Manchester United fans resonate so strongly with the club, because that we are so attached with the club. And when you see something suffer, and when you see something die a slow death, it's not easy.
It's so
It's
painful.
tough. It's
Yeah.
it's it's tough, and I cannot watch United die. So for United to come back into, you know into what they were, is Ole the man. Now I see questions every time. Let's bring in Poch. Poch doesn't solve anything till we get our structure right.
Akash, the
No,
same thing happens. It's that vicious cycle we saw. Look, Ollie get hung out to dry next season. He gets sacked by December because he was not backed properly. Jadon Sancho, they don't sign him. He goes off. Yeah, like you said, he has top club in the world will want him next year. They'll be able to afford him. And Jadon Sancho, with all due respect, we're the only club in for him. Would he be joining us or looking to join us if there was Barcelona there, Liverpool, Man City? No, because we can't offer a guarantee of challenging for league titles. We can't offer the guarantee of challenging for Champions League. What we can offer, though, is a project. What we can offer is hope. We can offer a path. We can offer commercial. This is annoying to say, but that commercial brand that he wants to push. We can offer the promise that we're going to move from B to C, because at the moment we're from A to B. Why would Paul Pogba want to sign a new contract? He would only do it on assurances. But the way I see it, honestly, is that when you look at Manchester United, they're not serious about football. And that is the thing. For them, you've got businessmen or bankers in positions where footballers should be. Look at Bayern Munich. They are the most well-run club in Europe. They are an absolute joy to watch. Their whole first team cost 80 million, the one that played in the final. 80 million. Less than Paul Pogba, that's what it cost. And they had Alphonso Davies, 11 million.
but they have a bench for 240 million.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that, that
that's
that's
true.
let's
Yeah,
not forget that.
that's
But
true.
I agree with you. Heather, when we say that, will Sancho join us in a scenario where there's Real Madrid, where there's Barcelona, where there's say Bayern Munich for that matter. I think his desire to come and play for us exists, and while it exists, even by mistake, United need to capitalize on it, and United need to make
Yeah.
most of this situation. They should not give up on this opportunity because there'll
Akash,
be
does it
regrets.
happen? Does it happen? Tell me yes or no. Do you think it happens? Do United
Uh,
sign Jadon Sancho this summer?
I can see Jadon Sancho happen to United. I think if it was not happening, we would see reports that talks have broken down. United are concentrating on alternate targets. United have moved on from Jadon Sancho. Speaking to people, I've been told that nothing's off the table yet. There's no progress, but there's nothing off the table. So we are at an impasse, as they say.
Yeah.
We are at crossroads. We are at a position where there's nothing being done. We're not moving forward, but we're not moving backwards. So what does this suggest? It suggests that United just want to wait it out, possibly try to get the best possible option, try to exhaust all options before you know
Before saying what we
agreeing
need to
to.
say. That's the
Yeah,
way we.
and that's just how we work. It's how United work as a club. It's nothing that will change because United do not like being rushed. So if you remember, there was a deadline of 10th August for Jadon Sancho,
Mm.
and on the German side of the club, of the media, they said that talks are broken. Borussia won't sell. Even after 10th of August deadline has passed, they are not in a position to sell. And you know what? That could possibly be right because from Dortmund's position, if you were really in Dortmund's position, you wouldn't be panicking because A, you have Jadon Sancho even if he stays. B, if he's sold, you get a lot of money. So
Yeah.
so there's nothing to feel bad about. Their fans are used to the fact that the best players are sold if the right offer comes in. It's happened with Lewandowski. Lewandowski left for a free, but him leaving itself was such a huge thing. And if you look at Dembele, he left even under the worst of circumstances, but he still left. If you look at Aubameyang, he left. So a lot of players don't make a career at Borussia Dortmund. They make their careers elsewhere. They establish themselves at Borussia Dortmund. They don't make a career. Do I see Jadon Sancho at Borussia Dortmund even if he doesn't leave for Manchester United? No, I can see him leaving for any other club if he doesn't leave for Manchester United because he has a lot of offers on the table. People know how good he is. I'm not kidding. Barcelona, there were talks that he could be considered as Messi's heir
Yeah,
to
no, it's true. That's how good
at
he is.
Barcelona, and
That's
and
how
and,
good he is.
and it could still happen this summer, and it would hurt to watch him go to Barcelona if Barca can still get a fee for Messi. I can see that money being invested in a squad overhaul. I can see that offer going in for Jadon Sancho if United don't capitalize. When Bruno Fernandes was linked to Barcelona, Manchester United signed Bruno in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
So if panic is and I see all these Twitter ITKs,
Oh,
coming and saying, and you know what, a transfer offer has been submitted for Jadon Sancho. Look, it doesn't work that way. I don't like being I don't like people being fooled, people being taken for a ride on social media. Because being a Manchester United fan is more than enough. Why make others suffer more? It's
yeah,
it's like trying to put salt in a wound. If
yeah,
when an offer in Germany is made for Jadon Sancho, BBB are supposed to declare it
yeah,
as its ad hoc information.
yeah. Because
They
they're
have to
listed on
declare.
the stock exchange. Yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
So
they
until
have to declare that information, and until
yeah,
an you can talk. There's a difference between an informal bid and a formal bid. So if
yeah,
an informal bid has gone in, fine. But I'm talking about formal bid. When a formal bid is made, and I'm not sure if an informal bid has been made because there have been reports where United have supposedly made it, but there have been no concrete reports. So I'm not going to speculate. But you know what? It's important to know that fans should not be lied to.
but that's the thing, Akash. That when you look at that's the point that fans don't know this. Dortmund are listed on the stock exchange. So if a big bid comes in, they have to inform their shareholders. So fans need to understand that United have not even got to that stage yet. What the reports are that, and from what I've spoken to a few journalists, German ones, they say this, that Dortmund were very serious about that deadline. Apparently, I don't know how true that is. Maybe that's reports coming straight from the club. But Jadon Sancho wants a move. He's interested, but he won't push for it. He'll have to push for it, I think. Man United are obviously interested, and you look at Dortmund; they were willing to sell at the right price, but they don't need to sell because they're not like Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen need to sell. Dortmund don't need to sell. I know they made a loss, but in the last previous 4 years, they've made a profit. So
let me ask you a question, Heather. Here,
Yeah.
okay? If Real Madrid came in for Paul Pogba,
Yeah.
would we as a club accept anything less than 100 million?
Of course not. Of course not. Same with
So-
Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood's generational. So why we won't sell him for because
Yeah.
Real Madrid want to sell him for 80 million. We all say give me 150, give me 200.
Yeah. So if Borussia Dortmund have a world star who's at their club, who they feel can be a Ballon d'Or winner in the future, they have every right to ask for a good fee.
Of course.
And as a reasonable person, I'm not talking from the businessman perspective because I'm not there. I'm not the one who's going there and actually dealing with the club. But from a prudent man's perspective, any person who knows for a fact that Jadon Sancho is worth 100 million investment.
Yeah.
Because in what he brings at his age, in terms of his age, in terms of his talent, in terms of the number of years that the club can take out if he's willing to stay at the
Stay.
club. So there are a lot of positives in the long term. If you actually look at this deal, it'll be a very, very cheap deal. If you look at Hazard, who moved from Chelsea to Real Madrid, he's already 29 years old. If you look at Griezmann moving from Atletico to Barcelona, he's already 29 years old. Is that 100 million investment prudent? No, it isn't. Even if it's an expensive short-term investment. So if you look at it, Griezmann's not had a very huge impact at Barcelona. Hazard's had a injury-struck season at Real Madrid. So he is. So these are the kind of clubs who have invested money, but into players of higher age bracket. We are not asking Manchester United to invest 100 million in a 29-year-old. No, we are not.
20-year-old.
We're asking them to invest it in a 20-year-old into a 20-year-old player who's willing to come back to England and play for the biggest club in the world. And why? And if you don't take that as a compliment, then and if you're low bidding clubs, and if you're saying no, we don't feel he's worth that, then obviously as a selling club I'll be insulted. I'll not want to do business with you again. And there are reports that Manchester United and Borussia Dortmund share a very good relationship, contrary to belief. But will that good faith exist if negotiations take place like this? Absolutely not. That's just my perspective. I'm not saying relationships have deteriorated, but any person would feel offended. United need to do their bit and learn how to do transfers in a simple way for a change, man. It's so exhausting.
Yeah, I agree.
I lose my voice at this stage.
That's fine. We're going to move on from Sancho because I completely agree with everything you say. Look, earlier on I was about 80-90% it's going to happen. Look, I've dropped, and I'll tell you why I've dropped, and I'm just going to go through the finances because I don't think people actually understand what the money situation at United or the financial situation at United going into this summer. And there's all this information I'm going to just say because I've got to credit where it comes from. All this information is from Phil Brown, and it's from the podcast he did with Kieran Maguire, which is phenomenal. It's Kieran Maguire, The Price of Football. I think he's written a book, and he basically broke down. So Akash, if you don't mind, I'm just going to run through all of this. Some of this you might know, some of this you won't, but I want the listeners to really understand. So the important thing is that obviously it's for United to continue surviving, right, as an entity. That's the most important thing. And I think when you look at Man United, they are very comfortable doing that. Where United have issues is that they've got a massive wage bill, and this wage bill is about 25 million a month. And when you're looking at that wage bill, you think, and looking at the players in the squad, how many are actually worth that? You look at Dean Henderson, I love him, and I'm really happy he's got a new deal. But to give him 120 grand a week, that's 30k more than Alisson's getting at Liverpool. But anyway, going back to finances. So usually at the end of the season, it's a very lucrative time for any club. And when I mean that, the season ticket money comes in. You get a large sum of money from the TV deal from Sky and BT. And this helps to pay wages over the summer and also helps to put some money towards transfers. And I think what United are missing out on is the fact that, remember, this is every club, but United are missing out on 110 million per year, which they get from ticket sales and from match day revenue. And this has been deferred for obvious reasons because we don't know when the fans are going to come in. And if you look at historically under Sir Alex Ferguson, we bought players on credit, essentially. So that means that obviously we're paying installments. But over the last 12 months, we've been paying that bill down, which is good. But unfortunately, COVID has hit. And what's happened is United have unfortunately have to cut back on that discretionary spending. And that means that things you don't have to pay for, which aren't essential. So we're not talking about wages. We're not talking about the interest and the debt that we have to pay thanks to Glazers saddling the club, but things like transfers. So the finances are healthy, but we haven't got that TV money for next season to pay the bills, the transfers, the wages. So we see here a lot of United fans are asking about this £140 million credit facility, and that's been borrowed for cash flow purposes. And I want to talk about Liverpool
for operating costs. If I'm
exactly.
not wrong,
So it's not like 140 million that you're going to be given. It's an overdraft facility that United can they can eat into. And so when you look at United and Liverpool, I think they're in very similar positions. And Liverpool fans are also frustrated because, look, as we said earlier in the podcast, they still need to invest to move forward. But United and Liverpool don't know when the next match day is going to happen before paying audience. And so they're rightly being cautious. United are losing £4 to £5 million per game at Old Trafford. You think about 18 games, that's nearly 100 million a year. And what you're seeing is they're rightly anxious, but they don't have the same business model as City and Chelsea. And let's just look at Chelsea, for example. People are asking, why can Chelsea spend a lot? Yes, they've had a transfer.
Abraham, sorry to cut you there, mate.
That's all right.
I just wanted to bring a small fact. Abramovich is Abramovich. Sorry, he's valued at around 12 billion.
Yeah.
And Glazers are valued at around 4 point something. So there's a drastic difference in the kind of revenue model and the kind of investment that the parties can bring to their respective clubs. So when you talk about money being spent by Chelsea, and when you compare United with Chelsea, for a fact, it's important to know that we are simply not on the same level in terms of what the owners are willing to bring on the table. United are a club who generate revenue and work with what they have, whereas Chelsea are getting the revenue from their respective sponsorship deals, as well as getting a backing from the owner. So it's important to know that Chelsea have everything working for them, while at Manchester United, it's a machine that runs only on one cord, and if that cord is not working, the whole system goes out of place.
Yeah, completely, exactly. That is exactly it. So when you look at it, that's the point. Abramovich can give loans to Chelsea. He can give low interest loans to Chelsea as sort of investments, and that's a way that they get extra revenue. If you look at Chelsea's balance, they've been making losses for years. Abramovich, this is his passion, right? This is a game for him. This is a hobby. He wants to. This is for fun, and we've got owners that don't want to put a single penny. They're here to milk the club. But when you look at
I hope we get an owner who wants to have fun with us.
So do I. Then we're unstoppable.
I'm just so angry, why?
Yeah. No, I get
it. It's so much frustration because for how many years will we continue to go in circles? It's that same cycle again and again and again. Tomorrow, if Ole gets sacked, who are we going to blame at the end of the day? We need to address the issues, and it's this summer, and I'm afraid that if he's not back, then he's going to go. It's only going to be a matter of time, because we are 2-3 injuries away from finishing in the top 6. That's going to be our season done right there if we get an injury.
Bruno, Pogba, any of the front three, and
one of them goes, and we are going to suffer. And I can't see this team go back after what they've done, because they've actually made efforts to improve to watch this team make backward steps, it's going to hurt. And I know for a fact that United are willing to back Ole because they have clearly said that they want to back Ole over multiple windows. And I think that shows that United don't want to do business all of it in one go. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know why
I'll
United
tell you why.
can't pull off.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can tell me. I'd
Yeah, I'll
really
tell
like to
you.
know why.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. It's grim reading, but look, there's ways around this at United. If there was no debt, but let's talk about it because this will help. But so Abramovich, I completely agree with you. By the way, I feel your anger, and I love the fact that you know what you're saying it because there needs to be a change this summer. But you're looking at Abramovich. He sold one of his spare companies or businesses for £1.5 billion, and he can put that into Chelsea, and he has put a little bit into Chelsea to pay bills. You look at Manchester City; they haven't spent as much over the last 12 months because they weren't sure whether they're going to be in Europe or not. But as a result of the CAS verdict, an absolute farce as well. But they now have more money to spend, and they're the same as Chelsea. They are backed by an oil state. Back to United and Liverpool, and that's why Liverpool as well. They're in a similar situation, but they've got a side they can add. You know, it's a ready built side. They can add quality here and there to it. But they don't. It's not that they don't want to spend. I don't think it's just that they don't want to leave themselves in a sticky financial situation. That's what I think with Liverpool. United's a different story. I honestly don't think the owners want to spend what's needed for the rebuild. But the borrowing of that 140 million, it's not straight up, but it's like I said, it's an overdraft. And
You tell me something, Heather. Tell me something. If we are borrowing money from a credit facility, where is the revenue of the club going?
Yeah. Well, this is what you'll see. So if we have a look at the revenue on the club, now this is the issue, okay? That United obviously have debt payments they have to pay. And the issue is that they're paying off the debt and the interest on it. But what they're not doing is they're not using that money to invest into the club. Now, the issue is as well is that you have to look at the cash balance. Last summer, we had 308 million in the bank, which is a decent amount in the bank. That's all fallen due to the fact that we signed players with more cash up front. So you look at the Harry Maguire, that was up front. And some are in installments. That's how we like to operate. So when you're looking at the situation, Man United have eaten into that cash reserve where they spent 80 million on Maguire, they spent 47 on Bruno, and then what's happened as well is that they have spent 25.5 on Wan-Bissaka and another 22.5 and another 22.5 last summer. So what's happening is that they're paying off transfers from last summer and years before now.
Yeah,
So
and we're supposed to receive supposed to receive money for the Lukaku deal as well.
And that's been spread over credit terms, favorable to Inter. So not enough money is coming in, and too much is going out. And the problem is with United is there's legacy issues here where they're still paying off for back. Think about their transfers. 1.2 billion has gone out from Man United. And when you look
we still have 90 million in cash reserves. We still have 90 million in cash reserves. Plus, we have taken 150 million credit facility. So there is money. It's not that it's all of it won't be used in operating costs. It's just my feeling. And I think there has been a debate from the Premier League in terms of how much. I think a certain amount was given back to all the clubs. So I think
about 20 million, I believe.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of money coming from different sources. So I do feel that United should not handle over something which they're going to spend over anyway, because you don't decide Sancho is your primary target all summer, despite knowing that COVID is there, and then suddenly realize that he's going to cost a lot. So people at United do know that Jadon Sancho is can be brought to the club. So instead of dragging out negotiations on someone and then finally realizing, we have to pay, we have no choice. Get the deals over the line. Make the important sales over the summer. We've managed to get Alexis Sanchez off the wage bill. We should manage to get some of the players like Rojo off the wage bill. I don't know why he's still at the club.
Phil Jones, who gave him a new contract.
Certain players need to be told that their time at the club is up, and we need to make sales. Sales are an integral part. You know why Chelsea are doing so well? Because they manage to sell well. If you look at Morata, they managed to recoup the money majority of it by selling Morata to Atletico, and they got a very good fee from Madrid for Hazard, even though he's edging closer towards 30s. So they have managed to sell well. They have managed to invest in key areas. Plus, they have the backing of an owner who wants to, like you said, invest in the club and even if it's as a hobby, contribute to the success of the club. The owner's vision has to align with the vision of the fans,
Absolutely.
because and when that does not happen, there's no ambition, there's no drive. Manchester United fans' vision and the Glazers' vision do not match at all. They don't care as much as we do, and that's
Yeah,
the biggest problem. The
yeah.
day they start, it's a different story altogether.
The
But
biggest issue
right
as
now,
well. Yeah, go on.
but I agree with you. Like, continue,
Yeah.
please.
The biggest issue right now is you look at that wage bill as well. If United are not getting money coming in from match day revenue, I believe that. But United they generate so much, so you have to wonder where that money is going. But the wage bill is 300 million a year, and you're looking at that. That's why they're saying we need to sell before we can buy. You're looking at the crazy wage. We got Sanchez off that. I've said already before on my podcast that on Sanchez's £500,000 a week, you can bring in 2 to 3, maybe even 4 very good players on that. So what's going on? Like I understand. Look, the problem is people need to understand that United will spend this summer. That's what I'm going to say, and they will buy players. They will buy players who are maybe 30, 40 million pound worth players. Someone like a Van der Beek, I think, would be a phenomenal signing. They'll look to spread that obviously over the length of the contract or over 2 to 3 installments, because that's how United do their business. But what United can't do, and this is why I have doubts, and that's why they need to get players out. Like Smalling needs to go. I heard apparently he's agreed. He needs to go. We need to get Dalot off. If we can get 40 million for Dalot, probably not, but even 25 to 30 million for him, he needs to go. Lingard needs to go. If we can, the problem is United can't put down large sums of money as a down payment. That's why I think we're holding up on Jadon Sancho. If we had the money, I firmly believe United would have the deal right now. Honestly, I think they would pay it because they know what seems to be paid. The fact of the matter is, the way that the money situation is, we don't have an owner. Well, we have owners that are rich, but the owners can put in 100 million, can't they? They could put 100 million pounds of their own money into the club as a loan, but they don't want to do that because for them, this is a problem. It's about the ambition. You spot on about aligning with the fans and the owners. Look, the owners, if they want, I don't think they don't want to win. If they could win, obviously they'd love to win. But they're looking at, we get into Champions League, you get 100 million pounds, and when you get into Champions League as well, you have to remember that the players' wages have gone up, bonuses for getting in the Champions League. If they don't get in the Champions League, that goes down. So that's also eaten into the Champions League money. But what you have to understand is that they're businessmen. If they see that United will spend 200 million, but the return on that's 30 million to win the Premier League, they're not going to do it. They don't care because everything is about money, 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 money. And that's what United fans need to understand, that it's not going to get better. I'm sorry, Akash, I have to say this, man. Like, it's not going to get better. We're not going to win the Premier League or the Champions League while the Glazers are still at the club. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. And I think we're watching our rivals just go ahead of us and show ambition that we wish we could show. But Man United should be self-sufficient. We shouldn't have this debt. We shouldn't be paying interest.
Like you mentioned not winning the Premier League anytime soon. Look, I feel that gradually we'll get there. That's why I said, maybe if we invest in the right area. See, look, we have spoken about a lot of things, but talking about a few positives as well. I'd say that we have a midfield that is ready. Biggest advantage, Pogba, Bruno, Matic. Biggest disadvantage, Matic is nearing his, uh, he's peaked already. Can he afford one more season without injuries? Biggest doubt. So we have a positive there as well as a negative. Biggest positive in defense that Van Bissaka and Luke Shaw have and Harry Maguire, despite their fees being taken into account, have brought in a little bit of stability into the defense. Is it good enough to challenge for the title? No. We need one more defender to come in and help us out. Is De Gea good enough to lead the lineup? Right now, as things stand, an extremely dicey situation. I'd say it's 50-50. If we can give him one more season to turn things around, otherwise he goes as well. Forward line, are we happy with Rashford, Martial and Greenwood? Obviously,
Rashford, after his return from injury, I wouldn't want to be extremely critical about him. One of the reasons is because he's just come back from an extremely difficult injury. I know it
Actually,
takes
career
time.
ending.
Yeah, and it's a career-ending injury, so I wouldn't lay into him. I won't treat him like any other player because I know for a fact that it takes time. So I will give him that time. I know there's a player in Rashford. I know you know had a fantastic season himself as an individual. He's justified his numbers. So he's had a good season. Martial, phenomenal this season. I have absolutely no problems with him. Is Greenwood great? Obviously, he's a generational talent. So if we look at the positives, if we look at the small rays of hope, there is still hope. That's why we are talking. That's why we can see that if investment is made, we can make that surge. But it's not good enough to challenge, because any good side that challenges for the title needs to have good squad depth. City have Bernardo Silva. City have Mahrez. They have the best bench
Foden.
in the league. They have Phil Foden at their disposal. They have possibly every single good alternative to their main squad. Look at Liverpool. Liverpool have a consistent first 11. They would depend on their bench because they know that their first 11 is so good. Their first 11 has been consistent. The moment that consistency drops, you can see them fall. But is Manchester United there to catch that position when Liverpool or City falter? It's difficult.
No.
We have beaten City twice or thrice this season. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, we have beaten them thrice this season. We know we can face them and beat them, but can we be as effective as them against the lower sides? No, we struggle against the low blocks. Now that Bruno has come in, there's a little bit of hope, but and there's a little bit of pressure taken off Paul Pogba, who was asked to do literally everything. He was asked to track back. He was asked to defend. He was asked to be the creative outlet. How much can a man single-handedly do? So investment is key. It's one of the sole reasons why United
But
can get back into where they were. I
the way
think.
I see it, I agree with you completely. Investment is key, and this is why people out there saying, "Oh, well, I think the current squad can improve." So they're not. I know they're not saying don't invest, but they're accepting the fact that it's delusion, because you know what? Once, like you say, one injury, two injuries away, we're back at sixth. But look, this is the way I see it. If United are not willing, they're not willing to spend massively on elite players from clubs that don't need to sell, because Dortmund are one of them. Then what they've got to do is they've got to change their strategy. Like, looking at it, right, the hierarchy don't have the footballing acumen to buy smartly with the most upcoming or exciting talent, and that's the fact. And they don't have the ability to develop them into future stars. That's what United did well. They had invested heavily into the academy, and they used to bring in the likes of Ronaldo, people like that, who would develop into world-class stars. You look at Alphonso Davies as an example. United used to get the Alphonso Davises of the world. They used to get the Jude Bellinghams and Haaland. We lost out to Dortmund, on a British player, one of the most exciting in Jude Bellingham British players in the whole of the United Kingdom. You look at Bayern. Would they have missed out on a player like Bellingham in Germany? No, they wouldn't. They would have got it. We missed out to a foreign club on that. That's a big problem for United. That should be a worry. And then you look at the fact that under Sir Alex Ferguson, we scouted so well. That disappeared. That's starting to improve now, but that definitely disappeared. And when I say a director of football is integral, you look at Luis Campos at Lille, who's openly said he would like to work at United. He'd be happy to do that project. Look at Monchi at Sevilla. They discover gems and they develop them. We've got a manager who's happy to do something like that. We've got a manager who hasn't wasted any of the money. If United don't want to spend big, then if you're not going to buy it like the way that Chelsea and City are doing, then you have to be exceptional in every single department if you want to win the league. United are not exceptional in every single department. The squad's way too thin, as we know. You could argue, although Ole's done a great job, he's not the best manager out there. There's no consistency in style of play from the first team down to the very bottom, the younger ages. So, when it comes to buying, if clubs are asking for lots of down payments, then United don't have the money, then they have to look at different ways, and they're just not doing that. Most of the players we've sold are for pennies. We've seen this, and because they failed simply. And the problem is that United, now being hit by COVID and not having enough money coming in to be able to finance deals, look at the situation. If Bayern Munich wanted to sell, let's say, Tolisso, they'd get their money back on him. And that's the problem at United. So United, that's the thing. We're stuck in the middle. They want to get Jadon Sancho, but they can't afford the money, or they don't want to pay the money. Then go and look in Portugal. The Portuguese clubs are in disarray financially because they're not being given loans to be able to supplement their problems. So why are United not going and looking for best? There's talent out there. City signed Ferran Torres for 20 million. There's talent out there, but they don't have the footballing acumen or the right people in the right positions to go and buy them. Okay, let's talk about sort of players that we've been looking at. So you look at Badiashile, yeah, right, from Monaco. Interesting player.
Yeah.
But
Very interesting.
very interesting. And I've spoken to quite a few people. One person in particular, a good friend of mine, who has covered him, Gabriel, and Pau Torres. And his words were, Pau Torres is probably right now the best player. He'd be the quickest fix. I'm not sold on Pau Torres because, one, the money is, as we discussed, me and you discussed yesterday, is way out of our reach. And two, because I think his lack of pace is a bit of a problem when you put him next to Maguire. Although he's got a very good footballing acumen. Gabriel, for me, was a no-brainer. I'm shocked we didn't go for him. The price is very, very, very reasonable considering the player that you're getting. Yes, he's inexperienced still, but he has the ability and he has the raw talents to be a good partner and a good fit at United. And the other one's Badiashile, who is €25 million bid, I believe. We got rejected. Are you happy with that sort of strategy, or do you think United should be going for someone more, I suppose, more developed? And honestly speaking, who do you think United are going to sign? Because I can't put my finger on it. I think we want Jack Grealish. The money's too expensive. I love the look of Van der Beek. I believe you made an approach. I don't know if that's true. You can maybe verify that for me. But who realistically can United fans expect or hope to see coming through the door?
I think addressing each player at a time. I'd say when you talk about Badiashile, I think he's a top prospect. There's a reason why Monaco don't want to part ways with him without getting a good fee, is because he's extremely talented, and obviously he's a raw talent. So there will be mistakes in his game. I asked one of my friends who watches him consistently and the French league, and they said that there's a player in him. His ball distribution is good. He's got speed. He's left-footed. He's got great presence of mind. I think he's very good in the air. But he does tend to make mistakes, silly mistakes, because he's raw. And I think can United invest in someone like him? I think we can, because I don't expect anyone to come in this summer and replace Lindelof anyway. We are looking at squad depth in terms of playing games throughout the season. In terms, can it be Premier League? It can be trying to just increase the competition in the squad to improve results. So I think Gabriel there was a lot of interest from all across Europe. But then again, I think Arsenal made a very lucrative offer in terms of wages. And I don't think United are willing to offer the kind of wages Arsenal were. So that's where I think Gabriel chose to go. And he'll also get a starting spot at Arsenal. So I think it's a positive for Arsenal fans. But I think there's a lot of hype around a player who's not proven himself yet. So it's going to be difficult for Arsenal fans if it doesn't work out instantly. Coming to Van de Beek, I think for 45 million, a no-brainer, absolutely. A fantastic player in him. He's got, I think, that ability in him to make a difference on the pitch. He's extremely. He was good in the Champions League, in the year before. But in terms of what he brings to the table, I think he's extremely good in an attacking sort of sense. But will he fit in exactly in terms of playing well against the press? Someone that Manchester United need in terms of improving our play against the press? I don't think so. That's where Grealish comes in, and that's where Grealish is United's preferred target over Van de Beek, in my opinion, because he works well against the press.
Yeah,
He's and I think more than anything, I think Villa will be open to selling him and will be open to taking a couple of players from our end in order to reduce the 75 million valuation. And I think United and Villa can also come to an understanding in terms of how the fee structure can be paid, because I think both the clubs have a good relation. And I think Villa will be, I think, more accommodating in terms of how the money is supposed to be paid, because I think Grealish literally saved them from relegation single-handedly. So I think it's important that he gets his move. I think James Cooper from Sky Sports said that the deal will not be tough to conclude for Manchester United in terms of their financial strength. So it's not difficult for United to get Grealish. So it looks very likely that that deal could happen in this summer if United make a move for the player.
I
Because
don't understand though, Akash, why United aren't trying to get this out, through the door early. Just get it done, or are they just waiting on Sancho? Because I just don't want a situation where we chase Sancho all summer. It doesn't happen. We're scrambling and we're signing David Brooks for 40 million.
yeah, David Brooks is an alternative, not to Sancho, but to Grealish. And I think that's been made clear by the media. There were initial reports stating that he would come in as a Sancho alternative, but let's be real. There is no, comparison in terms of the impact that these both signings will have. I like David Brooks as a player, but I don't think he's a Sancho alternative. So Grealish and Sancho look like a realistic option for Manchester United.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And realistically, who do you think United will bring in? I mean, I'm going to say I think we'll sign Badiashile. I think it does make sense in some ways. When I look at it, I would like someone probably more established. But United just can't afford that. Someone like Upamecano. But look, that's obviously next summer. Potential move. I don't think United will get him. I think there'll be other options like Bayern Munich who will go in. But so I would say Badiashile, I think he could be a very good signing. He's got the attributes, again, raw, but he's got the attributes to start. And from the person I spoke to, said there's a very big possibility he could end up starting with Maguire, as the season goes on, because, they could complement each other well. He just needs experience around him. And he's got good pace. So I think we'll sign him. Hopefully the fee's not too, too crazy or extortionate. I know that Monaco want Martial type of money. I think,
Yeah, what's interesting is I think a lot of people are not mentioning the fact that United could explore loan deals towards the end of the window. If they feel that they cannot afford players this summer, they could, use an approach in the market which sees them loaning players with an obligation to buy. So we could see a couple of moves being made for in the defensive positions, because I don't think much money will be left if United go for Sancho and Grealish in the same market.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's yeah. I mean, I'm not really sure on the top of my head who they could bring in, but I think Grealish. I mean, you're hearing Romero potentially is one of those players going to Villa for Grealish. Maybe a Lingard. And look, I'm just going to say on the Sancho deal,
Send all of them. Send all of Jones, Romero, Pereira, all of them for Jack Grealish. I really wouldn't mind.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that would be the central thing. And I think finally on Jadon Sancho, look, United still in discussions. Like you said, that's a positive in itself. I think United can't afford to not sign their top target, especially someone they've been so vocal about, and also the only club in for him. So that would be an utter embarrassment for Woodward in the hierarchy. So I think, I'm going to put my neck on the line. I say after a few players have left, I think we will manage to agree a deal, but it'll be late on in the window, and I think United need it.
Aguero!